Welcome to Woodport Guitars. Thanks for checking out the video. We're going to talk about the Saman wood stain and see if it holds up to all the claims made on the bottle. And we're going to talk about why this laser cut headstock template caused me to veneer the headstock of this Macanudo insert. And we're going to go on. We're going to talk about this tailpiece razor blade, how I made it, and what I have to do to finish it. And we're going to talk about where it came from. Got another one on the way. And we're also going to talk about fret markers, how I make my fret markers with this big chunk of steel and a piece of wood. And sometimes I do them a little bit different. Alright, let's start off with the Saman wood stain. I used it to stain this neck, and it's claiming to be an... Wait a minute. Did you see that? Hold on. Back that up. Show that again. Why do the fret markers stay white? Alright, well then, let me tell you about how I make my fret markers first. So I came across this trick where you just drill a hole in a piece of steel and you pound a piece of square wood through them, smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to what you want. And it was meant to actually hammer with a mallet. Now, I tore up quite a few would-be dowels trying that. Now I actually cut them on the bandsaw to where they're 1/4 inch square, and then I chuck them up in the drill, sand the tip a little bit so it goes through my biggest hole, and I just work my way down until I get to what I want. Now I'm doing mine at 1/4 inch, which I think is like 6.5 millimeters. The only trick to this thing is if you use a 1/4 inch bit here, use the next bigger or 2 sizes bigger on the back side so that it's more open than the top. I know it's a big piece of steel, but it works. And when I go to making these, I make a bunch at one time. These dowels are made from this piece of wood. This came off of a pallet, but when I'm pulling the pine slats off of it, and then I grabbed a hold of this one, the weight was probably felt like you had 10 of those pine pallet slats in your hand with the weight that this had, and it's very dense. So I've actually used this for nuts on other guitars, bases of bridges, and fret markers. So after I run it through the steel, I just grab a little piece of sandpaper, hit the drill, and give it a smooth out. It doesn't have to be too smooth because you want somewhere for the glue to go when you're shoving this thing in the hole. My holes are 1/4 inch. It's a tight fit. Sand to taste. That's how most of mine are made. Now this guitar I did a little different. Because it looks like it's aluminum, I thought, how about some aluminum rod for fret markers? So that's actually this aluminum rod that I picked up at Ace Hardware, $3 or $4. It was a lot of work. I should have cut them smaller. So I made this on the laser. It's a simple design. It's really easy to make in Lightburn software. So it has 3 holes to locate my tuners. So I can actually lay it on here, lay out my headstocks. And I was so happy to be using it so that I can get it the same every time. I didn't think about this guitar is supposed to be a 4-string guitar. And now I've got 3 holes and there's no room for another hole. I'm gonna have to, oh man, what am I gonna do? So I ended up using this dowel to fill the hole. So this caused the problem and this solved the problem. Been wanting to do a veneer. Now I have. Pretty cool. Alright, the next thing up on the list is this bad boy. This razor blade tailpiece. Right now, you see it's not too shiny. It's actually sanded to 400 grit. So I still have to clean the glue and the paper off the back side where my template was, and I'm going to do the same thing, take it up to 400 grit, give it this brushed look. I'm going to tape it off right at these corners straight across, and I'm going to polish these 2 edges up so that it looks like it's a sharpened razor blade when all actuality it's not sharp at all. Now this was made from this piece of aluminum that actually goes into an old style RAID drive that held a whole bunch of older style IDE drives, and well, it just happened to be really thick. You could probably bend it with your hand, but it's pretty tough. And you can see I have another one right here that's quite larger than this one. And it's a 3-string. That could almost be a 4-string bass one. To start this razor blade tailpiece, I decided to drill out the circles. Then I would just have a short, straight cut in between the circles, so that would be less hand sawing. It didn't work out that way. I am using my regular woodworking drill bits on this aluminum with no problems at all. Alright, now to the saw. I use the saw to make the little corner notches first. Now, I'm using a jeweler's saw with some very fine blades. They just come in numbers like 1, 1/0, 2, 2/0. So they're very, very fine. A little beeswax on these saw blades makes for a way easier cut. Now when I finish with those, I insert the saw blade through the hole in the razor blade. Well, start sawing away. The piece of wood I've clamped to the table is a bird's mouth vise, jeweler's pin vise. I've heard it called a lot of things, but it's great when sawing small work like this, so you have support and sawing space. Next thing to do is drill the holes for the strings. And this is for a 3-string cigar box guitar. To put a finish on this, I laid sandpaper on a flat surface and sanded both sides of the razor blade. I started with 120, then went up to 220, and then 400 grit for a satin-like finish. Now let's talk about the Saman wood stain. This brand was a suggestion by a viewer. Thanks, Steve. They make some big claims on the label. Let's see if they hold up. The neck was sanded up to 220 grit, and I am applying this dye to raw wood. No conditioner of any kind. So no need for a conditioner? Check. And I'm overlapping like crazy. Saman says no overlapping marks. Check. They claim odorless. Yes, it is odorless. Check. That is awesome when working in a small shop or any tight space. Does not raise the wood grain. It did not, which is amazing considering it is a water-based dye. So check. They claim just one coat. Again, I found this to be true. I did apply one coat, but I wiped it off way too soon, and I knew better because I watched videos from Saman. So if you look how dark the neck was before I wiped it down, I just could have waited a minute or two, then wiped it. It was dark. So I'm giving them a check on that one. I agree with all the claims on the bottle, which is awesome because it doesn't happen that much anymore. It is a great product. I'm not sponsored or affiliated in any way, but I would be. It wouldn't be hard to stand behind a product that lives up to its claims. So thank you, Steve, for turning me on to the Saman wood stain. I would also have to add, there's a very fast dry time. It did not rub off on my hand like the yellow dye I used. It would mark your hands for months. So not so with the Saman. Immediately after wiping the stain down, I dragged the neck across my hand and it didn't leave anything behind. It was dry. So great product. Hey, thanks for hanging out, watching the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It doesn't cost you anything and it does us a world of good. So share the videos, comment, like, all that good stuff really helps. So until next time, have fun.